Usually, when we talk about disturbing literature on this channel, we talk about some splatterpunk or classical horror that can be considered disturbing, psychological horror, of course. But sometimes, like I said, this channel doesn't have to be about disturbing books only. This one today, it's kind of a special one. Welcome to Check That Book, a special place on YouTube where you and I get acquainted with arguably the most bizarre and disturbing sometimes books, games, and films ever created. And today we are taking a wee look at a book some of you, especially younger generation, might not know that this was originally a book. We're going to get acquainted with The Green Mile by Stephen King. Now, this is a supernatural drama set on a death row in a 1930s Louisiana prison. I am pretty sure that if you've heard about The Green Mile, then you most likely have seen the movie or some outtakes from the movie, or maybe some interviews with Stephen King. I was honestly surprised to learn that quite a handful of people didn't know that Stephen King was the one to write The Green Mile. And the history behind it is also quite fun. You can actually find some information on it here. Now, this is Orion Books. I don't even remember how I got my hands on it, but it was a while ago. Now, why did I decide to talk about this one all of a sudden? Well, first of all, like I said, it might not seem like a fitting title when it comes to disturbing literature that we usually get acquainted with on this channel. But let me try. I cried reading this book. I'm not going to talk about the movie today. And that's going to be a whole different video because the movie deserves a video of its own. Now, this is all about how this one is written. Now, we have a main character, Paul Edgecombe, who is a prison guard for condemned inmates. And by condemned, this is a death row, you guys. I don't think I need to explain. So Paul Edgecombe with his mates, they're just with his colleagues, I'm sorry, but there are kind of mates, and there's quite some good examples of male friendship in this one. I always love to read about that. I tend to romanticize male friendship a lot, in a good way, not in like a homosexual way, but in like true friendship way. I mean, come on. It's cool. We don't get to see this that often. It all started with Sherlock and Watson, and it still goes on. I mean, if I can read about genuine friendship somewhere, especially male friendship, because it's always it hits different. When it comes to women, to me, it's not friendship. It's more like sisterhood. But when it comes to men, there's something. It hits different. I don't know. Maybe as a writer, it's kind of difficult to explain, but this is not a video for that. I digress. I think I've spoken a wee bit about it in some of my reader profile tag videos, I think, when I mentioned the same Holmes and Watson, for example, and why do I think it's important. Now, I digress. So Paul and his colleagues are watching over the last months, weeks or days of these condemned prisoners, most of whom are genuine sons of bitches. Some of them not so much, some of them we don't know much about, but it's just an interesting day-to-day life, their work life. And one day, someone called John Coffey, yeah, like the drink, just spelled differently, appears in this prison. By the way, I haven't explained The Green Mile. That's how this prison block is called, because of the lime green floors. That's it. It's quite poetic, actually. But this John Coffey is very mysterious. He acts unorthodox, not in line with his appearance at all. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't synchronize at all the way he's described physically. And most importantly, the reason he's there. The crime he supposedly committed is so horrible that probably takes it off the list of the disturbing. Like, yes, it fits in. It fits the bill. Mostly the crimes described in this book, yeah, they are disturbing on their own. It's not a horror fiction. Now it makes sense to me why quite a handful of people were genuinely surprised to learn that Stephen King, the horror king, wrote something as dramatic, poetic, philosophical even, and sad as this one. And especially younger generation. I mean, you can forgive them a lot because the way they process things and think, and the way they digest information and, again, process it and draw conclusions, it's different. Sometimes you need to sit back and maybe do a double take of things, which was kind of a case with this book too, because you read Stephen King, you go, oh. But then again, if you are someone like me, and if you're a wee bit older, then you should know that Stephen King also wrote Shawshank Redemption, and it's quite a similar story, to be honest, but maybe we'll talk about Shawshank some other time. To me, The Green Mile is still a favourite. I'll later explain why, but the synopsis. John Coffey appears there and strange things start happening on the block. Paul Edgecombe witnesses strange miracles and he begins ultimately questioning justice, guilt, and the true nature of life and of, well, miracles. It's very mythical, philosophical, and surprisingly soulful. I have to give him that. Stephen King is not a bad writer. After all, he wouldn't be where he is at right now if he was a poor writer. Come on. He does his job very well, and with books such as this, he only proves that he is not just, a horror writer. He's not famous for his horror books alone. And I love it. I should confess, I warmed up to Stephen King only in my late 20s. I just, again, perhaps because of this stigma, kind of being this horror author, and a lot of cinematic works with Stephen King's direct influences, or basically, adaptations of his works. Some of them were not that good. And it's perhaps, for starters, it hits you different and you know what to expect. You have your own idea of this author and you might not be that interested. But being a writer myself, being a curious person when it comes to literature and, well, art in general, being a curious person in this regard, I gave it a second chance. I'm not gonna lie, I saw the movie first. I was pleasantly surprised. I highly recommend this book to any book lover at all. It's not in the disturbing book category. It's a very good drama. That's it. This one can raise a lot of questions in you and emotions. You step into the shoes of Paul Edgecombe here, and towards the end of the book, as well as the film, but that's for another time, you are left so, like in one of my previous videos, I mentioned that you are left empty, right? Oh, it wasn't my previous video though, about 1,000 acres. After this movie, you're left empty, right? Kind of numb even. While in this case, you are slightly overwhelmed. Yeah. Worst case scenario, you will be just heartbroken, because if you are someone like me and you feel strongly for injustice and your heart aches for people out there who have been wrongly judged, oh yeah, well, this is going to be a strong read for you. I do recommend it also because of quite an easy read, in a good way, I mean it. It's understandably put. It's not that complicated. It even has a couple of illustrations here and there, right? Yeah, Orion books. It's a relatively easy read. Even if English is not your first language, you should manage. And besides, it's roughly 400 pages long, the story itself, so you should be fine. I read it in a few sittings because I was that curious to compare book and the film, to ingest the new Stephen King that I discovered on myself, and I was very positively surprised, and ever since that time I became, I wouldn't dare say fan, but I am an admirer of Stephen King's, and I do respect the man a lot. After all, he is a good horror writer, but I think I respect him for works such as this even more. So whether John Coffey is an evil murderer or a wholly innocent, you find out by reading Stephen King's The Green Mile. And yeah, I do recommend watching the film too, but we'll talk about it some other time on my channel. And before we wrap this up, I would like to remind you all about my own book, Misanthropically Inclined, the links for which will be in the description below. There's also an ebook available. This is actually not as lengthy as Stephen King's The Green Mile, but it's actually twice as long, and hopefully a curious read, especially if you're into poetry or philosophy even. So I thank you all, ladies and gentlemen, for watching. If you like this sort of content, consider giving this video a boost in the form of an erect thumb, and make sure to subscribe for more. Take good care of yourselves and your loved ones, and I shall see you all as soon as possible. Goodbye.